What's up, Frugal Founders? In this video, we're going to talk about buyer personas. So we're going to cover what a buyer persona is, why it's important, and how you can go about building them. Before we get into it, make sure to hit that like button so people just like you can find this video and learn from it, and also consider subscribing so you get future episodes of Frugal Founder Hacks. Okay, so let's talk about the what. What actually is a buyer persona? Essentially, a buyer persona is a collection of details about your ideal customer. These details can be things like geographic location, age, gender, and they help you narrow your focus so you're reaching the right people. No matter if it's a person that you're selling to or a business that you're selling to. Think of it this way. Pretend that you're going on a vacation to Hawaii. What are you going to do? You're going to do your research. You're going to look at things like the best restaurants, the best landmarks and places you should visit. And from that research, you're going to whittle it down and create an itinerary that focuses on the things that you want to see and do. It's the same thing as a buyer persona. It helps you narrow your focus so you're much more efficient and effective with your time. In the case of a business or a founder who has a passion project, time, money, and energy, you want to spend that in the right places, not the wrong places. So now for a frugal founder who may not have a budget for a marketing team or contractors or anything like that, you're doing it by yourself, having that buyer persona is going to help you figure out where you should spend your time, money, and energy when it comes to promoting your product or service. And so having it in place is extremely important. It's going to save you a lot of time and energy in the long term. It's gonna be less of a hassle when it comes to answering questions like, who should I sell to? Or how do I reach my customers? Because when you know who your customer is, it's infinitely easier to find them, to communicate with them, and to turn them into customers. Okay, so we talked about the what and the why. Let's now talk about the how. How do you go about creating buyer personas? Now, there are two ways you can create a buyer persona. The first way is a lot easier. So if you have an existing customer base, whether it's 10 customers or 1,000 customers, if you have an existing customer base, you can look at these customers and start looking at the common characteristics. For example, are they based in the same geographic location? If you're selling to businesses, do they have the same type of business structure? Maybe the same employee size, or maybe the same type of company. Understanding these common characteristics is kind of like being a detective. It's going to allow you to understand going forward who you should be reaching out to when it comes to trying to market or promote a product or service. And the second way, which a lot of people are going to fall into this bucket, is when you're starting literally from nothing, no customers whatsoever. And so now the question is, if you don't have any customers and you can't get common characteristics, how do you go about creating a buyer persona? So this is where you have to be a little bit creative and kind of use your imagination and basically take a step back and look at your product or service and try to imagine who you believe is the right individual to use that product or service. For example, if I'm a fitness trainer and I'm creating a new boot camp series, and I want to tailor it specifically to athletes, now I have an understanding that athletes are my ideal buyer. And so from there, it's just a matter of figuring out what type of athlete is your ideal buyer. Is it somebody who plays football or volleyball or soccer or softball or baseball? And once you understand that, and this is going to take a little bit of experimentation and kind of getting some ads out there and talking to people and seeing who actually comes to your boot camp. So once you understand who's attending your boot camp and the characteristics of that individual or group of individuals, again, maybe they're 60% football players or 70% softball players, now you know from a product or service perspective, okay, if I have 70% softball players, maybe I need to message and position my boot camp specifically for softball players to maximize the amount of paying customers I get on a consistent basis. So having a buyer persona really helps you hone in on that. And the beauty of understanding the characteristics of your buyers is that when you decide to expand beyond a small geographic location, and maybe you want to go to another city or you want to go nationally, you already have an idea of who you should be reaching out to, who you should be marketing to and promoting your product or service to. Now, quick note about buyer personas. They're meant to be evergreen. They're always evolving. And so as you get more customers, as you learn more about their backgrounds and their makeup, then you can start evolving your buyer persona to the point where it's super, super accurate and detailed. So don't worry if you don't get it right out the gate. No one really does. It's very rare to get a 100% accurate buyer persona right out the gate. You can have some educated guesses and kind of be in the right vicinity. To hit it right on the nose every single time is very, very hard. So don't be discouraged if you create a buyer persona and you're trying to do ads or you're getting on the phone and talking to people and you're getting a lot of no's. That's okay. Take those learnings and apply it to your buyer persona and adjust it until you find the right people you should be doing business with. Here's a quick tip. Whether you have an existing customer base or 0 customers, don't be afraid to jump on the phone and call people, message them on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Instagram, and ask them questions about their life, their job. What are their goals? What pain points do they encounter on a consistent basis? What products and services do they love today? The more information you can collect from your potential customers, the better your buyer persona is going to be, because you're only enhancing it with super rich feedback. That information is going to help you in the long term, and your buyer persona, the more you can enhance it and develop it, is only going to be of benefit to you and how you do business. And there we go. That's buyer personas. Very important to have as Frugal founders. And the best part is you don't need any sophisticated software to do this. You can do it on a piece of paper. And so that's your Frugal founder hack of the day. With that, I'll see you on the next episode of Frugal Founder Hacks.